Welcome back. I'm Jackie DeAngelis in tonight for Elizabeth McDonald. So far, 33 former top Obama officials are now facing potential subpoenas from the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committees in the probe into the Russia investigation and the unmasking of Michael Flynn. Let's bring in Michael Flynn's attorney, Sidney Powell. Sidney's on the phone with us. Sidney, I want to just back up for a second here because I was reading the brief that Judge Sullivan submitted. I have it right here. And basically what Judge Sullivan is saying at this point is Justice Department wants to drop the case. I don't think we should drop it. As a matter of fact, I think somebody else should take over and look into this, review the case, asking the question if Flynn should face contempt charges. But as I read this brief, it was missing a lot of information on why the Justice Department was inclined to do that. Your thoughts?
Exactly. They create their own field of dreams and completely leave out all the exculpatory evidence and the independent review done by a career Department of Justice and FBI, a former FBI agent, Mr. Jensen, the current U.S. attorney in Missouri, spent 10 years in the FBI and then 10 years as a federal prosecutor before he became the U.S. attorney that Attorney General Barr assigned to review the government's own files, by the way, for information that was never produced to the defense, as is their obligation under the Constitution to produce Brady evidence, anything that exculpates the defendant or tends to undermine the government case. That's what he did, and they attached, I think their brief was 20 pages and attached another 80 pages or so of documents that showed General Flynn should never have been investigated. They had no basis whatsoever to investigate him. And since then, the call transcripts have come out reflecting his conversations with Ambassador Kislyak, showing they had no reason to investigate him after that either because the calls were perfectly appropriate in every sense of the word for a member of the presidential transition team. And their whole case was made up.
So logically speaking, when you find that the calls are appropriate, even if this evidence came to light later, wouldn't you just allow the Justice Department to drop its case because we know that prosecutors are never going to take a case forward that they know they can't win?
Right, and there are two key provisions of the Constitution itself that prohibit Judge Sullivan from doing what he's done. He cannot go out and create his own case or controversy when the parties have agreed to dismiss it. And only the executive branch, i.e. the Department of Justice, has the right to bring charges against someone. He doesn't have contempt power over the issue he seeks to pursue a contempt investigation on.
Now, when it comes to Michael Flynn, your client, he says that basically, I'm summarizing here, I'm paraphrasing, but that, he was coerced into giving a false confession. That does happen, Sidney, right?
Oh, yes, it happens a lot. In fact, the National Database of Exonerations has the names of hundreds and hundreds of people on it who entered pleas of guilty and were later exonerated. And by the way, even the law recognizes that a plea of guilty is not a confession.
And what about some of the other players that are now associated with this? Former President Obama, Vice President Biden. We've talked about Jim Comey. You've got the Susan Rice emails about what might have transpired in the Oval Office, that this may be even larger than we ever thought.
Oh, I think it is larger than most people thought, unfortunately, and it's going to get worse the more John Durham investigates and finds additional evidence. I think that's why the country is turned upside down right now, frankly. I think it has a lot more to do with what's going on behind the scenes than what they're claiming it is.
What are the next steps for you and your client?
We have oral argument on a week from today. In fact, a week from now, we will have concluded our oral arguments before the D.C. Circuit on our petition for writ of mandamus to ask the District of Columbia Circuit to order the dismissal of the case and deny his appointed choice of special prosecutors any opportunity to go forward. And I would expect the court to issue a ruling promptly, given how quickly they have scheduled the hearing and moved on the issue so far.